All right, everyone, this is it. You've done all the coding. You've created your classes. And by the way, we're talking about the model view controller architecture. The model really represents the what we call the Java Pojo, or the plain old Java object, and that will be our Java bean. The customer, the Java bean, is actually in business. That's our model. And the controller is in info. It's our customer list servlet, the coding that we did in a previous video. And that controller really acts upon both the model and the view. In our particular situation, the view here is customer form. That's where we're going to be able to see this data here. Remember, I showed you that because it wasn't compiled yet, that you're going to get this error. So what should you see in your WebINF classes? Well, I'm going to show you how to compile this. And it's crucial that you follow the package structure that I showed you in a previous video. If you go to the requirement for assignment number 4, you'll see here that I have a set of instructions. I also have the same set of instructions in the files themselves. So you could either get it from here, from the assignment instructions, or from the file with comments. So let's take a look at this. Here is my .java file, customer.java. Let me make that a little bit larger. And I just want to show you here the compilation. So after making the necessary changes that you have to do that we showed in our video, what you need to do to compile this customer, the model, if you will, this is the model, M-O-D-E-L, the model of our MVC architecture. First thing you have to do is CD to the classes subdirectory. You're not going to CD all the way to business. If you try to do that and compile it, you're going to get an error. So let me just pull this up to show you. This is the path where the customer .java file resides. It resides right here. But what we want to do is we want to CD to the classes subdirectory. So I'll put this over here. And here is our commands that we need, right, like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up command prompt. For Mac users, you'll be doing the same thing. You'll CD to applications, Tomcat, web apps. Same difference after. Once you get into web apps, it's the same command. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal for myself here. And I'm going to take the 2 out. So take that 2 out of here. And now I'm there. Okay, I'm in classes. And now what does it say? From there, I will compile. I'll invoke the CP option. And what I'd like you to do is look that up. What does Java C space option hyphen CP mean? And what does the dot mean as well too? So I want you to look that up. The dot actually refers to this directory. So from this directory of classes, from here, sorry about that, I hit it twice. From here, from classes, what we want to do is Java C this file, customer.java, right there. Now, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this over here like this, just so you can see the class being created. I'm going to steal this code for myself, or I should say this command, and I'm going to run it. Now watch in here how you'll see the Java file compiled. There it is, no errors, and there's my class. Okay, so that's the model that represents the Java bean. Okay, Now, next, what we need to do is compile info. The inside of info, customer list servlet. So for that, again, I gave you the commands right here. And this is a little bit different. What we have to do here is we have to call the servlet API jar file first when we're doing this compilation. And again, I want you to look up what -cp means. We could just open this up. Let me first close out of here. And again, I already talked at length about why we need the package here. If you have any questions, please post them to the discussion board after you do your own research and also after you listen to the videos. I also put in here the commands that you need to run. So change this, make it larger. Here we need 2 commands, one to compile it and one to run it. Now notice we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cd to our classes directory, and we're already there right now, right? We cd to the classes. We have to be in classes. We can't go into CRUD info to compile this. It has to be in classes. Why? Because we're going to, when we compile it, it'll look for the crud.info to find this servlet. But there's one other thing that we need to do. When we compile this, after we cd to the proper directory, classes, we need to include the servlet the servlet API.jar file. So we're using the API, the servlet API, the Java servlet API, to compile that using the customer list servlet.java file. So for servlets, we have to use that API. So all I have to do here, since I already CD'd to classes, I'm just going to copy this. Mac users, same thing, just a different path. Oh, Mac users, one other thing. PC users, this is a semicolon. Let me make this a little bit larger. See, PC users, this is a semicolon. On a Unix machine, you guys, you're going to use, that means a Mac machine because it has an underlying Linux operating system. You're going to use the colon, not the semicolon. So be careful about that. Okay? I'm going to go back here, and what I'm going to do is, again, allow you to see that I'm going to invoke this compile command, and then what I'm going to do is you could see it compile in the left pane. No errors, and there's my class right there. Now, one last thing I want to do here for you. I'm going to show you how we can compile this test file. So the first thing you want to do is compile this test file just to make sure it's working. It's just a minimal file here, and all it's going to do is print out, once we get it working, that this HTML is coming from the servlet. You can take a look at that if you want to and see how it works. But we just want to make sure that we're compiling our servlets properly. And again, what you want to do is make sure that you cd to the proper directory. In other words, here, classes. And then we're going to use the servlet API.jar file when we compile this. It's going to be in our CRUD info packages and sub package because it's in the same path. It's in the same path as our customer list servlet. So we should be able to compile this the same way. Let's see if it works here for us. Compile that, and we see that it does. So let's access that directly. Let's access it directly and see what we have. Okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, one more thing. The name of this file is test servlet. However, we had an annotation here. And that annotation says that we're not going to access it by test servlet. We're actually going to access it by the pattern in our root directory, that's 4368, test. The name of this file, though, is test servlet. Okay? Now, we could also have another option here if we want to name the servlet. We could name the servlet, not the file itself, but we could name the servlet hello test servlet. But how it can be found, we changed it from the actual name to just test. So watch how we do this. I'm going to try to access it like this by the name of the class, test servlet. Okay, we're at the root of our directory, test servlet, and still can't find it. HTTP can't find it. 404. Let's try it this way now. Using our annotation, lowercase tst and nothing. What happened? This is what will happen, gang. Even when you're running your server, first thing you have to do is shut down the server. I'm going to shut it down. Okay. I'm going to restart it. Okay, see if there's any errors here. Not seeing any errors. And then I'm just going to refresh this. That's all I had to do, because I made my classes, but I compiled them while the server was still running. See, they weren't compiled when the server was running. So I had to shut down the server, restart it, and now when I just want to show you this again too. Test servlet. I'm going to access it by the name itself, and I can't. But let's see if I can access it via the annotation, TEST, and there it is. Okay? So make sure when you're compiling servlets that they actually work. The way to make them work is by shutting down the server, restarting the server after you compiled that servlet. Let's go back to our application. All right, let's see it work now. Click on A4. There's A4. Exactly. Remember we talked about this in another video. I'm not going to go over this again, but using the key value pairs in our query string. First thing I'm going to do is hit the submit button. There it is. It's showing customer list. It's processing back to the form, and it's showing, say, hey, all the text boxes required notes. And by the way, we're only doing making sure that there are values. You could see in the previous video how it would require much more substantial code to actually do the server-side validation as we did the client-side validation. In other words, testing for correct numbers, using regular expressions, etc. So I'm making this simple for you just so that you could see that all we're testing here is for values. All right, let's put some values in here. Notice that there was nothing entered. It showed my online portfolio, right? That was the business logic of the customer form. And you can go back to previous video to see that. I'm going to put some data in here. How about John Doe, automatically populated, balance of 100, total sales 100, notes testing. Okay, let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so you can see all the data here. And I'm going to hit submit. Everything's here. Everything is here that needs to be. And now what it does is it will process to the, see here is the customer list, but it's actually going to the thanks.jsp file. It's taking all that data and going to thanks.jsp. Let me show you that real quickly. Here's thanks.jsp. And what it's doing is it's capturing all the data that was sent that we put into the user object. Remember that? We put that into the user object. There's our user object. And saying, okay, we instantiated a customer object. And we use the variable name, that makes it an object variable, user. But it's a customer object, really. But we're used. Remember, in the previous video we used the variable name user, well, we're capturing all the data from each one of those properties. And then we're displaying that in the thanks.jsp file. And this is it. This is the thanks.jsp file. And there is our data. If the user tries to access customer form.jsp, this is what will happen. If they don't access it via A4, A5, or P2 using the links, they just try to directly access it. Look what happens. The default header is My Online Portfolio. And again, gang, this is all from the video discussion we talked in the past. I went through each one. I did the code dissection for it. I know there's quite a bit of information here. Please, if you have any questions, first and foremost, go through each one of the videos. That's a mandatory requirement. All videos that are created for the course are mandatory review. If you have any questions after going through the videos, please don't hesitate to post them to the discussion board, or if need be, send me an email. We can set up a time for office hours. All right, gang. Hope you enjoyed these. I hope you learned a lot, and see you all in class.